So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michelle Thornton. I am an assistant professor in the School of Business and this year's Accessibility Fellow Coordinator. Thank you all for joining us. Those of you that are participating in our 10-day challenge, today is day 4, which is amazing. I know we've gotten started today a little bit later than the past couple of days. So those of you who are following along, maybe you had some time to get caught up this morning. Maybe you worked on some of the things that we were doing the last few days. Either way, if this is your first session that you are joining us for during the winter breakouts, thank you for being here. And if you are not part of the challenge, we still encourage you to participate in any of the accessibility sessions or our drop-ins each afternoon. I'll tell you more about that here in a little bit. Today's session is one of our shorter ones, just a 20-minute session, and we are focusing on one of the 5 key accessibility principles at Oswego. We talked about our first one yesterday, and that was identifying content types. Today, we're talking about descriptive hyperlinks. And then the things that we've got to come are looking at text equivalence and color. And we'll be kind of coming into those next week. Tomorrow and next week. Yeah. So I do have a partner in crime on this presentation. However, you will see, is not actually in the Zoom room with us. Serenity Sutherland is my co-presenter today, and she is in the Catskills. We are very jealous about this, but she and I, in our prep, was having some spotty Zoom issues. So I had her pre-record her portion of it, and I will actually be playing that for you, and then kind of manning the chat box and kind of coming back in at the end once her piece of that is over. So I'm going to start there with Serenity's recording, and we will all watch that together and then kind of come back as a group live here to chat about it a little bit further and answer any questions. So bear with me while I share that on my screen now. And I'm hopeful I'm going to start this, and please give me a thumbs up if you can hear it playing. I did test this out earlier, but if there's any challenges or if we need it turned up a little bit, please put something in the chat box or let me know.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CELT.
We can't see the slides, Michelle.
Hyperlinks and...
I'm sorry, what's that, Rebecca?
We can't see the slides or the video.
Huh.
I just see your desktop.
Okay, let me try and stop my share and do that one more time. Thank you for the heads up.
Yep.
Can you see it now? I haven't started playing it.
I can see like the slides, but not in like present mode.
Okay, that's how she starts the video. So
Okay.
This is currently just her
Yeah.
starting her video.
Okay, looks good.
Okay, now we're gonna hope for audio. So let me hit play here and let me see if I can get a second round of thumbs ups if we're good on that.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CELT winter breakout session, Hyperlinks and Accessibility. My name is Serenity Sutherland. I'm in the Department of Communication Studies, and I was one of the accessibility fellows last year in the first year that the fellows ran. And one of the topics that we learned about was how to make hyperlinks accessible. And so I'm going to hopefully pass that on to you today. I'm sorry that I can't be there with you in person. I am traveling in the Catskills region, and internet is not great. So rather than risk losing you all over Zoom, I'm just going to present to you remotely. And my wonderful colleague, Michelle Thornton, will hopefully be able to answer any questions you have or direct questions and ideas my way following the presentation. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So the point of this session is really just to help you think a little bit more about the usability of your hyperlinks. Hyperlinks are so universal and they're so much a part of our web experience that sometimes we kind of gloss over them, glance over them and don't really think of them as being super important to accessibility. But they really are. They're really essential in helping not only sighted readers, people who can see, but also helping people who are using screen readers have a better experience using the web. And so I will occasionally refer to the idea of user experience today, the idea of UX. And when I talk about that, I'm really talking about that through a lens of universal design, that the UX is good for everybody, not just people who are using screen readers, but people who are sighted readers and who are also benefiting from the universal designs that we put into play. So that will kind of be the overarching theme of today's session is universal design and user experience. And then what we'll be focusing on is this specific topic of hyperlinks. And so we want our hyperlinks to be concise, descriptive, and meaningful out of context. And so I'll walk through and provide some examples of each of these, what it means to be concise, descriptive, and meaningful out of context. And I will also provide at the end an example of a screen reader so you can see for yourself how the screen reader works and how it sounds like, and that might help you be able to understand why this is so important. I also see a typo here already in my slides, which I definitely read these over before the presentation, but I'm going to skip it. That's supposed to say learning how to write hyperlinks. I apologize for the typo. Okay, so often when we think about web content, we can think about it breaking down into two different processes from the consumer's end. From the user's end. So the user is either a content creator or a content consumer. And if you are someone who contributes content to Blackboard, you are a content creator. If you're someone who has your own personal website, you are a content creator. If you send emails, you're a content creator. And each time you use those technologies, you are also a content consumer. And it is the content creator's responsibility to make their content as accessible and universally designed as they can for the content consumer. And so today we're going to talk about two different ways that someone can consume content. And there are many different ways, but for the sake of this short session, we're going to talk about specifically JAWS, which is a screen reader program that will read content on the web to people who may be visually impaired or have color blindness or just have a need to hear things out loud for whatever reason. But then, of course, there's also users who are sighted and just typically can scan a page looking for links. And this really gets to the universal design and user experience point that I started with, that well-placed links can help both sighted users and also screen readers. And so let me show you an example of what I mean here when talking about sighted users. On the left is what we often think we're designing our content for. As instructors, I think we imagine that our students are going to thoroughly read every single line, every single section of our syllabus. They're going to read all the words in our email, and that's kind of the ideal. And so, of course, hopefully they do, but maybe you're finding, like I am, that happens to not be the case. It doesn't seem like students are kind of reading through left to right, line by line. And if we think about it, the way that we generally, just we as content, as consumers of the web, use the internet and use pages on the web, I've certainly been in a situation where I've come to a page and just been frantically searching. Maybe I want to pay a bill, and it's not a task I relish, and I want to get over with as soon as I can. I go to the page, I frantically look for the link that I want. I don't want to read all of their corporate promotions. I don't want to know what they're doing with their, whatever policies they have going on. I'm not interested. I just want to pay my bill. And so I'm looking around very quickly for anything that vaguely resembles what I'm looking for and is clickable. And that's actually mostly the reality of web design. Of course, there are exceptions to that rule, but generally, when we're in a hurry, that's what we're doing, is we're just scanning really quickly, looking for that thing that we can click on. And with busy colleagues reading emails, with students trying to parse through a lot of readings, this can sometimes be how they read. Even if we don't want them to, this just can be the reality of their experience. And so they're searching very, very quickly for that link. And so for those folks, let's also make hyperlinks better and more useful for them. And hopefully some of the tips that I can provide you will do that. So the first point here of what you can do to write better hyperlinks is to make your hyperlinks very descriptive. Tell your readers in the link itself what they can expect to find after clicking on the link. This is beneficial for sighted readers because we can see very quickly, oh, okay, this is what we're gonna find here at this link. If the link just says click here, that doesn't necessarily give a lot of specificity about what we might find there. For screen readers, people who are accessing the content through screen readers, they can listen to what they think, what the content creator thinks they're going to find at this link. And that's much more useful and easy to use, as you'll see in the example, than just a click here. So I've just put some general do's and don'ts here. As with almost all do's and don'ts, these are guidelines and just general things. But I think one of the basic principles here is don't just link to click here. And it's not super useful either to just paste a link. You want to provide some sort of descriptive text about what that link is going to be about. Perhaps you provide the descriptive text before you put the link. I've seen that. But really, I think the best way to do it is the bottom example here, where I've hyperlinked the entire descriptive section that is describing where you would go if you were to click on this link. So being descriptive is really important. And as you can see, it helps all users. Another really important thing is to be concise. Sometimes people can overcompensate with the click here problem by trying to link an entire sentence or an entire 2 sentences. That's really unnecessary and not at all descriptive, because it's 2 long sentences that are probably about multiple things, and so it's actually not descriptive. It's confusing, and it's certainly not concise. For a screen reader, this makes it very, very difficult and unfriendly to access. So it's just a confusing thing to do, be too excessive with the hyperlinks. So keep it concise. Another important point here is, that goes along with being concise, is to keep the amount of links that you're doing, that you're providing in a page concise, meaning don't link to the same content multiple times on a page. This guideline can occasionally be broken if you're saying something like, if you're designing a web page and you're telling, the link says back to the top, that's kind of a different example. But if you're writing an email or if you're putting together a website, don't link to the same content multiple times in a row, because that's repetitive and can be confusing. So be concise both in the amount of text that you're hyperlinking to and the amount of times that you hyperlink to the same content. And the final point here, the final tip to make your hyperlinks useful is to make sure that they're meaningful out of context. So again, this just gets back to the idea, if you just link to here, that's not meaningful. What does it point to? What topic are you trying to associate the link with? And this can be useful for something like link rot. If you link to a link and it doesn't work anymore, you're not going to remember what that here is pointing to. And so this is another example of how employing these concepts are useful from a universal design principle to both sighted readers and screen readers. For the screen readers, this meaningful makes it so that they can understand, if they choose this link, where they're going, because you provided a meaningful description of it. And then I'm just providing this here because I provide this for my students. You may already know this, and this may be very elementary, but in case not, just so everyone knows, there are some quick and easy ways to shortcut doing the link. If you have a Mac, just hold the Command and K button. Well, first you highlight over the text that you want to link. And then after you've highlighted over that text, hit Command K, and that'll bring up the box, and you can plop your link in there. If it's a Windows machine, it's Control K. So like I said, you may already know those shortcuts, but in case not, I find that saved me a lot of time and mouse wrangling. So hopefully that'll be useful to you. So just some kind of, notes here that I'm going to leave you with. Just keep in mind that click here, learn more. They're not concise. They're not descriptive. We see it a lot. It's a bad habit people have. We see it even in our own email communications here at the university, but it's really not descriptive and not the best practice. It will be really tempting. I'm tempted a lot of times to just take it easy and hyperlink to click here or learn more. But as a content creator, the responsibility is really on me to make my content accessible and for all of my users to have a good experience when they are trying to interact with my content. And they're not going to have a good experience. It's going to be frustrating for them if I don't have concise, descriptive, and contextually meaningful links. So try to avoid these when hyperlinking. And of course, do this in all of your web communication, email, course documents, when you're writing a Word document, if you have a website, if you're writing on Blackboard, all of these principles apply at all of those times. And so what I'm going to do now is link to the accessibility example of a JAWS screen reader. And hopefully this will all work technologically, and we'll watch through that.
I'm an accessibility specialist with the University of Minnesota, and today I will be showing you how writing good links makes it easier for users of assistive technology to access content on documents, websites, and courses. A screen reader is a type of assistive technology used by individuals who are blind. It helps users access content quickly and independently by reading text on screen aloud using different voices. The screen reader I use is called JAWS, and it sounds like this.
Hi, my name is JAWS. It stands for Job Access with Speech.
There are two things to remember when writing links. 1, use specific and descriptive language. 2, use different text for each link on the page. While it's easy to add a good link, it's just as easy to add a poorly designed link. Canvas or Google Doc will not alert you when you write links like click here. Write a link that prepares the user for what they will see when they open the page. Here's an example of a poorly designed link.
Learn more visited link. Click here visited link. http://mrmrs.io/writing/2016/03/23/the-mail-of-ignorance
Here's an example of a good link.
Create an accessible link text visited link. The difference between accessible, usable, and universal design visited link. Quote, the veil of ignorance, quote, challenges readers to imagine awakening in the new reality in which they are no longer the person they were visited link.
To learn more about writing good links, sign up for the badging program about creating accessible documents, course sites, and websites.
All right, folks. So that I think is a pretty good overview of the different types of things we need to keep in mind when we are creating links. Serenity did provide a nice sort of shortcut using the Control or Command K, depending on the type of computer that you use. For anybody who doesn't like to use those shortcuts, what you're looking for on anything that you're using, whether it's an email or a Word document or PowerPoint, anything like that, is that two kind of chain link symbol that you saw on several of Serenity's slides. When you hit that, that'll bring up that text box that allows you to then put in the web address of the thing that you're highlighting descriptively to send people to the right place. It is already very quickly 1:50. And so what that means, the good news is that we are going directly into, after this session, one of our one-on-one sessions. If anybody in this particular group needs help or wants to bring in a document and practice with, I will be there, as well as many of my accessibility colleagues, where we can assist you in actually working with your own documents and creating hyperlinks. The other thing I just want to remind folks about is that we do have more accessibility sessions coming out tomorrow. Rebecca and I will be presenting on color and contrast. And then Tuesday, we skip over Monday because of the holiday. On Tuesday, we get into alternative text for images. So is there any, just before we wrap right now, any specific questions or clarifications anyone has that they want to ask outside of that drop-in
I have
session?
a question here.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
that is a very good presentation. My question is that sometimes we have to put we write that you can click here to access this web page, and at the same time you have to put the exact URL in case the link is not working, so a student can copy paste the URL into their browser. So how should we incorporate that? You know what I mean? I sent them the hyperlink, but at the same time I write the exact URL in case the hyperlink is not working on their browser.
And what kind of document would that be in?
Word Office, for example.
I'm sorry?
Word Office or like email.
Oh, okay. So again, if you do it correctly and it is set up as a hyperlink rather than just in the document, the student can also hover over that and cut and paste through to the actual hyperlink that way as well. You don't have to show it in the Word document if you're sharing it in that format. Rebecca, I don't know, do you have any other suggestions on that? When you are trying to give students the opportunity, if they have to like highlight, cut and paste because they, for whatever reason, the browser that they're using or something cannot access it directly?
I'm a little distracted at the moment, but I could help maybe during the help session in a few minutes.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, it's not a better answer, Mohammed, but that's my first answer. If you're setting it up in a Word document, that the students can also do it that way by highlighting over it and then just cutting and pasting. But I think for other tools that might be tricky. You did see Serenity, like for example, when someone is presenting in a PowerPoint, she had both versions where in that case where you saw the full link in case somebody isn't in a situation that's clickable at that moment. So she did have it shown as the hyperlink as well as then below that the full address.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. All right, folks, with that, it is a couple minutes after, so I will let Rebecca end this recording, but please join us if you have more questions or want to practice on an actual document or tool at the drop-in session that starts in 5 minutes. Thanks.